What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck idea that was given to me by TheRandomGuy, and no, that's not me forgetting the person's name. It was literally given to me by somebody who goes by the screen name of TheRandomGuy, so big shoutouts to him on giving me this deck idea. And this is a deck centered around Decidueye-GX and Mega Tyranitar, giving this guy one last chance in the spotlight before it just kind of fades to obscurity, although some could argue that it already has. But before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. Really does help us out a lot. Let's do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, with Sun and Moon coming out, really there's been a heck of a lot more emphasis towards Z moves, where as the new game mechanic change that came with this generation, and 6th generation was the Mega Evolution, so on and so forth. But yeah, anyway, GX attacks or Z moves are the new mechanics, and you already have those obviously factored in with the Hollow Hunt GX, or with all those. The Z moves are the GX attacks in the TCG. My question is, how do you think they are going to take on Mega Evolution in Gen 7? Do you think that it is just going to be tossed to the wayside and forgotten about and just be like, oh, that was a Gen 6 type thing? Or do you think that Game Freak and Pokemon will bring in Mega Evolution somehow into the video game and the TCG? And how do you think they will handle it in the TCG? Because obviously, with all the GXs right now, if it's an evolution, then you go ahead and have to evolve like Rowlet into Dartrix into Decidueye-GX, and that's how the GX attackers are. Obviously, if there's a basic Pokemon, then it evolves from a... then it doesn't evolve at all, sorry. But with the EXs and the Mega Evolutions, the EXs were just basic Pokemon, and the Mega Evolutions were evolutions of that Pokemon. So in this case, you have Tyranitar, which is usually a Stage 2. That was a basic EX Pokemon, and Mega Tyranitar just evolved directly from that. So, do you think that Pokemon will install... well, not install, what's the right word? Do you think Pokemon will incorporate Mega Evolutions into Gen 7, like have a Mega Decidueye, Mega Incineroar, and that type of stuff? And if so, how do you think they will be incorporated? Or do you just think that Mega Evolutions will be like, okay, those were in XY, we're done with that, we're just going to move on? Honestly, I feel like they're really kind of sort of just writing Mega Evolutions out of Pokemon, because, I mean, while in Gen 7 you do have the ability to buy Mega Stones, a lot of the Mega Stones were missing, so it kind of seems to me that Pokemon is slowly trying to weed out Mega Evolutions and have more of a focus on Z moves and the subsequent GX attacks in the TCG. However, I think it would be really cool to have those guys in the actual game, well, in the TCG, like have a Mega Decidueye that just evolves straight from Rowlet, Dartrix, and then Decidueye-GX into Mega Decidueye-GX. So I think that would be a really cool thing to implement, and you wouldn't necessarily need the Spirit Links because, okay, I'll be honest, if Megas were simply Stage 1s that didn't need Spirit Links in order to evolve and not end your turn, they would be broken. However, I think the new Megas, like in the Decidueye line, having to be able to evolve from Rowlet into Dartrix, into Decidueye, into Mega Decidueye, I think that would actually balance out the game enough. So, in my opinion, I would like to see Mega Evolutions brought back into the game. However, in my opinion, I really don't think they are going to. I think they're going to be like, you know what, GX attacks are the new thing, or Z moves are the new thing, and we're just going to stick with that. Mega Evolutions can kind of fall to the wayside. But again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below and why, and I would love to hear what you guys think. But on to the actual deck. Like I said, centered around Mega Tyranitar and Decidueye. I'm focusing on Mega Tyranitar because everybody already knows what Decidueye does. Mega Titar has 240 HP, so incredibly bulky. With the, what is that, like a Theta double ancient trait, this Pokemon can have up to 2 Pokemon tools attached to it. That is very nice, and was something I tried taking advantage of in early iterations of this deck, but as I tested it, I realized that really you just have a Spirit Link on, and then you attach a Float Stone later if you can. But trying to take super advantage of it really just clunks up the deck. With the Destroyer King attack, 2 Darkness and a DCE, so it looks pretty expensive, but it's actually very attainable with things like Mega Turbo and Yveltal and all of that. But I mean, still a heavy cost. 110 base damage, and you look at that and you're like, 4 energy for 110? What the heck? That is not worth it at all. Well, this attack does 60 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So, 1 damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon, all of a sudden Destroyer King hits for 170 damage, which coupled with the extra damage is 180. That's a magic number. With Decidueye, which we were pairing it with, the active Pokemon will have 2 damage counters on it, and suddenly Destroyer King is hitting for 230 damage, which adds up to 250 when coupled with the 2 damage counters, and that is also a magic number to be able to knock out every single Pokemon in this game except for a Fighting Fury belted Wailord. So these two, I mean, just on paper, they have incredible synergy just because Decidueye is able to spread out the damage consistently for Mega Tyranitar to be able to take the knockouts with Destroyer King. So it really is an awesome combination. You might look and be like, well, okay, why are you running only 2 Decidueye? I'll be honest, it's because, first of all, I would like to run more, but that would clunk up the deck even more than it already is. And you only need 1 Decidueye to get to spread the damage around for Destroyer King to be able to take knockouts. In this deck, Decidueye is not there to take knockouts with Feather Arrow. It is a complete support Pokemon to be able to knock out things in one shot with Destroyer King, and that is the complete purpose of Decidueye. So if you run this deck, you will really have to change your mindset as to how Decidueye is used. Instead of trying to stack up damage counters on something, you really want to spread it out in this deck so that Mega Tyranitar, once it gets set up, can just blow through an opponent's entire field, as opposed to being like, well, I'm just going to keep trying to rack up damage with Decidueye to take a cheap knockout on a Shaymin or something. Decidueye is there completely just to get 2 damage counters on everything so that Mega Tyranitar can knock it out in one shot. As for the numbers, like I said, you have a 2-2-2 of Rowlet, Dartrix, and Decidueye. I would normally run a 2-1-2 for a support with a couple rare candies, but we are running Forest Giant Plants, so you do not need rare candy at all. 3-3 of Tyranitar and Mega Tyranitar just because main attacker. If you run 4 of them, why would you don't really need to run 4, because if your opponent knocks out, not why would you run 4 Mega T-Tar, I apologize that I started saying that. I don't, like, that's not saying that would be stupid to run. I'm just saying the reason I'm running 3-3 is because if your opponent knocks out 3 Mega T-Tar, you lose anyway. And then I'm running a single copy of a Tech Yveltal with the Oblivion Wing attack. This is entirely just for energy acceleration. Normally, I mean, I would actually kind of prefer to drop this for another Darkness energy, but I wanted to show you guys an option as an attacker that can also accelerate energy, so that's why Yveltal is in there. And then you have 2 Shaymin, because Shaymin is Shaymin, and Shaymin gives you setup. As for the items, sorry, I'm completely spacing on words today. As for the items, 1 Escape Rope. I would normally run 1 Escape Rope and 1 Switch because, let's be real, Yveltal, Tyranitar, and Mega Tyranitar all have very heavy retreat costs. Heck, Decidueye even has 2, so you'd want to run enough to get rid of to mitigate those. However, Mega Tyranitar actually is able to have a Float Stone on it because of the Theta Double. So if your opponent Lysandre's up a Mega Tyranitar that you don't really have any energy on it, just play a Float Stone and you can retreat out. Decidueye is going to be the target of your Float Stone 90% of the time anyway, so you don't have to worry about retreating that, and then Yveltal sometimes doesn't even come down. So that's why I'm only running 1 Escape Rope, just because Float Stone really fills that need more often than not. However, if you want to try a switch, I highly encourage you to do that as well. As for the rest of the items, well, the search items, 1 Level Ball to search out Dartrix or Rowlet, 4 Ultra Ball to guaranteed get what we want when we want, and also to get regular energy in the discard pile for Mega Turbo. 4 Mega Turbo, so that we can hopefully set up Tyranitar as fast as possible. In an ideal situation, you would attach a DCE turn 1 to a T-Tar, and then attach a Spirit Link, and then turn 2, attach a regular Darkness and Mega Turbo. That way you can Destroyer King by turn 2, and that's why I'm running 4 of these. Really, they're in place of more Yveltal. just because Mega Turbo is an item, while Yveltal uses up your attack and takes up a bench spot, all of that. So Mega Turbo, 100% need to run to help this deck speed up. One Super Rod in case you have to like discard both of your Decidueye, both of your Dartrix, before you're able to play those down, get a Force of Giant Plants in play. 4 Trainers Mail to help with consistency, the 4 Ultra Ball like I said. 4 via Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. And then as for the supporters, you have a very, very standard 4-2 line of Sycamore and N, and then also 2 Lysandre. That's what I've been running lately. I don't have any room in this deck for another tech supporter. I would kind of like to have a Hex Maniac or Olympia or something like that. I just did not have room in this deck. If you want to get rid of like 1 Mega Turbo for an Olympia, I can see that. However, this deck is jam-packed enough as it is. Actually, what you could do, get rid of Yveltal for an Olympia. I would actually recommend doing that. I just have Yveltal in there just because it has come in handy in a couple matchups here and there, but I think Olympia could come in handy more often than Yveltal. 2 Float Stones to slap onto our Decidueye so that we don't have to worry about trying to retreat those guys, and then also to be able to throw onto Mega T-Tar to get it out of the active spot if our opponent tries to Lysandre stall. 3 Tyranitar Spirit Links because there's 3 Mega Tyranitar, and then the energy 4 DCEs because literally everything in this deck, well actually no, just because T-Tar runs on DC. I mean, Decidueye technically does, but we don't have any grass energy, so kind of a bummer right there. But 4 DCEs to help power up T-Tar as fast as possible, and then 6 Darkness Energy. I would like to have 7, but again, this deck just did not have room for it. So yeah, this is the deck. It unfortunately is very clunky, but when you get it going, it is very, very powerful and very fun to use. So I apologize. It's going to have to be a little bit shorter because I do have stuff to do later. I still just wanted to get you guys a cool deck out today and show you a really cool idea that was given to me. So once again, shout outs to the Random Guy. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Sasquatch 66 with a Psychic and normal deck, so hopefully this deck does not have a Garbodor. Otherwise, I'm just going to be up a creek without a paddle, although to be fair, Destroyer King can one-shot a Garbodor with or without any damage on it. We do lose the coin flip, meaning we will go second, which won't be the worst thing in the world if I can start with Yveltal, but otherwise it's just kind of a bad thing. And alright, I'm starting out with Rowlet, and that's it. If this hand could get me a Tyranitar, it'd be a really, really nice start. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to have to basically end without doing anything. And my opponent is running a Mega Alakazam deck with Chaos Tower, which absolutely makes 0 sense. And I'm sorry if you guys can hear the phone in the background. Literally, as soon as I start recording, the phone has not been ringing all day. As soon as I decide to start recording, it decides to ring. So you guys know how that goes. And it's actually very frustrating because it's like I've been waiting all day to be able to record, and now it decides to start ringing. But either way, we're up against a Mega Alakazam deck with random Gastly. What? So, okay, so this looks like a Mega Alakazam deck, but you're running like Haunters to be able to I guess be able to confuse your opponent's active Pokemon. But so yeah, we do definitely see the Haunter. I don't know, this is a very interesting combination, but either way my opponent is getting a very strong start. Has Gastly out, which isn't strong in itself, but I mean, be able to get a Hoopa, be able to get 3 Alakazams down, and getting going, only grabbed 2? That's very interesting. I don't know why my opponent only grabbed 2. I mean, you could have grabbed a third one and played that down as well. I mean, I understand that he probably already had the Shaymin in his hand, but I would think you at least get the 3 Mega Alakazams down. But I mean, hey, could be that they're prized, and could be that the last 1 or 2 are prized, and there's nothing my opponent can do about that. So, yeah, pretty good setup. Plays another Gastly, so I mean, this is okay. I'm going to be able to get into a Dartrix immediately, and then I'm just going to end, because if I had a Tyranitar, it'd be a great start, but it's a very, very, very mediocre start as it sits now. Okay, so I get a Tyranitar. I want a Spirit Link. Let's see if I can get one off of this. Ooh, I get an Ultra Ball, but I think the Spirit Link is the better... You know what? I think I'm going to grab the Ultra Ball so I can grab the Decidueye. Yeah, and that way I can play my hand down to 0, get an energy in the discard pile, form Mega Turbo to be able to work later, and also so Decidueye doesn't get knocked out. I have my other Rowlet's prized. I have a couple only 2 Spirit Links in the deck, so that's good to know. I'm able to get a Decidueye, start spreading around 2 damage, and then Shaymin for a fresh 6 cards. Hopefully get a Spirit Link off of that somehow. And still don't get a Spirit Link, which we do get off of the Trainers Mail. So right at the end of the turn, that was gorgeous. Let's play the Spirit Link onto the Tyranitar. Look at my discard pile really quickly, and then go ahead and Feather Arrow with Decidueye. I think the best play is to go ahead and just start getting damage onto the Alakazams. That way, everything on my opponent's side will be one-shot by my Tyranitar. Because the Gengar line is going to go down to a Destroyer King regardless. The Alakazams will be going down only after I get 2 damage counters on them. And my opponent clearly is getting... Okay, so it has Spirit Link, and there's the Mega Alakazam, so I probably should have put my Tyranitar active. That way, I only get 2 damage counters instead of 3 from my opponent Mega Evolving. But, whatever. He does end me. That's actually kind of unfortunate, because I did like my hand. But either way, I mean, I get a fresh hand of 6, so hopefully that's something positive. And, well, it's something less positive, and my opponent got a very, very, very nice hand off that. Oh boy. So Tyranitar is going to have 60 damage on it. The nice thing is, with my resistance to Psychic, I will not be knocked out. So let's see what I can get off this. Oh, beautiful. I'm able to grab the Ultra Ball. Go ahead and I think discard the Dartrix and the Lysandre. Just because, I mean, I only need 1 Decidueye in play. Having multiple Decidueye is nice, but in this deck, you only need 1 Decidueye because 2 damage counters... Wow, voice crack. 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon is all you need. To be fair, you can probably run, like, what am I trying to say? Magma's Secret Base to get the 2 damage counters. But I think Decidueye is cooler, and also this way you start, this way you're using Sun and Moon. So what I'm going to do is get 20 more damage onto the other Alakazam, and then I think just, yeah, I can retreat into, actually, So, taking out the Gastly would only give me 1 prize. I kind of wish I had held on to the energy and just attached it to the Yveltal. That way I could take the Oblivion Wing knockout and go from there. But, I mean, either way, my Tyranitar is powered up, and that is fine with me. I'm holding on to it because I know I have the Lysandres in my hand for next turn, and if my opponent confuses my Tyranitar, I want to be able... Well, confuses my active. I want it to be the Decidueye that I can just retreat out, as opposed to my Tyranitar, who I'd have to retreat and then try to escape rope back into it, at which point the Lysandre wouldn't be as good as it would be able to otherwise. So, I mean, I know that I just skipped a turn that I could have taken a prize, but I want this game to be composed of 3 EX knockouts, not 2 EX knockouts and 2 non-EX knockouts. It needs to be 3 EX knockouts, and that's how I'm going to win this game. My opponent, I think... So Mega Alakazam will not be able to knock me out. I want my opponent to bring in his Alakazam and be forced to play the first, be forced to use the first Mega attack. There we go. My opponent is going to end me, so I'm going to get 6 cards as opposed to 5. The 5, I mean, I know that my opponent has the Gastly there, but the 5 really wouldn't have helped me. I draw into a bunch of this stuff, and yep, perfect. That is exactly why I left Decidueye active, because if my opponent got the Haunter, my Tyranitar would have been confused. This way I can just free retreat my Decidueye into my Mega Tyranitar. I'm going to play another Tyranitar down. Just in case, let's grab a Level Ball to go ahead and just thin out the deck, because I really have nothing else that would work. Let's get rid of the Level Ball, because I already know that my Dartrix is in the discard pile. Let's grab the regular Tyranitar, just because. Play the regular Darkness onto the Yveltal. Go for a Feather Arrow onto the... Do I want to start stacking up damage on something else? I think I'm just going to put it on the Hoopa. Okay, now literally everything on my opponent's board is set up for an Oko with Destroyer King. I can Lysandre in the Alakazam that has the energy on it. Now my opponent can't use Haunter to get more, to get confusion. I mean, he'd have to get another Haunter onto his Gastly, take out the Alakazam, get 2 prizes, and we are in an excellent position. And there's my Rowlet. Probably should have held on to the Decidueye and the Dartrix, but meh. I got what I needed out of this Decidueye, and that's really what this deck is centered around. If I put a more heavy line of Decidueye, then it wouldn't be centered around T-Tar anymore, and that wouldn't be what I want out of the deck. So, like I said earlier, because of my resistance to Psychic, Tyranitar is actually going to be able to live the hit, because my opponent will only be able to do, I think it's my opponent will only be able to do 140 at this point because of the, no, 170. So I will live with 10 HP. Like, that just shows how bulky Mega Tyranitar is. Like, I have 6 damage counters on me, and I'm going to live a Zen Force for Mega Alakazam. Mega T-Tar is so bulky that Psychic Resistance is coming through so clutch right now. My opponent is just going to Lysandre up my other T-Tar. Hindsight 2020 probably shouldn't have played that down. However, if I can just switch him out, I'll be fine. But what I am going to do right now is play the Darkness Energy onto this Tyranitar. Might as well just kind of start powering it up in the background as another attacker in case this Tyranitar gets taken down. I do get the Spirit Link and the Mega T-Tar. Unfortunately, I will not be able to retreat. But, I mean, I have the Mega Turbo and the DCE for next turn. So, unfortunately, I mean, the Mega Turbo won't be able to do anything. I can just start Feather Arrowing. And the question is, I think, do I want to start just taking the free prize on the Gastly and knock out and think that I'm going to have to knock out the Gengar? I think what I'm going to do is just start tacking the damage onto the Shaymin. That way my opponent does get punished for any stall tactics that he tries to use. Because one way my opponent can win is to try to stall me out and then have a well-timed Lysandre in order to take out my Mega T-Tar. However, if the entire time I'm just racking up damage with Decidueye on the Shaymin, all I'll need is just one more knockout on a Mega Alakazam to take the win. Meanwhile, Decidueye will just Feather Arrow Shaymin to take the win there. So I think that's what I'm going to be going for. My opponent plays an Ultra Ball for a Mega Alakazam. Probably just thinning the deck out. That's very understandable. I do draw into some pretty solid cards for this next turn. I can play the DCE onto my T-Tar, Sycamore away the Darkness Energy, that way I can Mega Turbo it onto the Mega Alakazam, and then I have 2 Mega Tyranitars set up to be able to win the game with just Destroyer Kings going absolutely ham on my opponent. I even get a Float Stone. That's even better because what I can do, play the DCE onto my Mega T-Tar, play the Float Stone as well because of Mega T-Tar's Delta Plus ability, and then Sycamore away my hand. Get down to 3 cards, but I knew I had so many VS Seekers left, and there are 3 Mega Turbos in my hand. Where the heck were those guys when I needed them earlier in the game? But, I mean, either way, I'm able to get another energy onto the T-Tar, or at least I thought I was. TCGO, okay, good. TCGO did not screw me over. I'm going to Feather Arrow. You know what? Because of the damage I have on the Tyranitar, that's on the bench, I feel like my opponent's going to promote a Gengar at some point. So I might as well just start attacking the Gastly to be like, okay, well, even if you send up your Gengar and I have to take a prize off that, I'm going to be taking a prize on the Gastly as well. Hindsight 2020, probably should have just been stacking up the damage on the Gastly because at this point, if I just put the damage from the Hoopa and the Shaymin on the Gastly, I'd have another knockout and I'd be a single attack away from winning the game. So my indecisiveness is probably coming into play at this point. My opponent is going to Lysandre. Oh, he's going to Lysandre in. Wait, if he Lysandres, I just win. If he doesn't disrupt my hand, I win because, for whatever reason, 3 VS Seekers and 3 Mega Turbos decided to wait until the last 10 cards of my deck to be drawn. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting how that ends up happening. And my opponent even brings in my other T-Tar. So, I mean, he has to knock it out with Creepshow. But at that point, I'll just be able to send in my other T-Tar, Lysandre up the Shaymin. And what is my opponent doing? What? Did he just switch into Hoopa? Okay, I don't know what that play was. I mean, he literally just gave me the win by switching into Hoopa right there. What he should have done is just taken the knockout with Gengar, force me to have a Lysandre to win the game right there. But instead, you go into my other attacker. I mean, he could have... Heck, he could have even just Lysandred up my Yveltal Shaymin, made me have another energy to be able to retreat. But, I mean, hey, we take those either way. Just a very, very, very fun game. It's a fun deck. It really is. It's very slow to get set up. Competitive-wise, I'm not sure how competitive it is. In fact, well, actually, gun to my head, I would probably say that this deck isn't very competitive. However, it is still a really, really cool idea to have just one Decidueye getting all the damage you could possibly need on the board for Mega Tyranitar to come through. And also Mega Tyranitar still being able to play in this current meta. Not necessarily compete, but at least be played. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.